This week, the Hay Street Mall faces overcrowding if the light rail proceeds as planned.
Extra funding to PMH was announced to provide better health services.
Tennis champion Sam Stour will play in next year's Hyundai Hopman Cup.
And the presidential race in Chile heats up as 9 candidates fight for the top job.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Leung and Danielle Staniskov.
Good evening. The Perth City Council is protesting against the state government's plan to place the Max light rail in the middle of the Hay Street Mall. A life-sized model of the tram was created, showing the public how they will be affected if the construction moves as planned.
The City of Perth has rejected the state government's plan of introducing light rail into either the Hay Street or the Murray Street Mall, which according to the council would destroy the city's essential characteristics and amenities that make Perth City unique. Hay Street Mall is only 60 metres wide when compared to Melbourne's Brook Street Mall, which is twice its size. Opportunities such as alfresco dining, street art and street stalls will be lost, making the city less vibrant.
We are rightly and very, caringly concerned about the impact on the amenity in our malls. Once our malls are lost, they are lost forever.
Ms. Scaffidi proposed an alternative route along William Street and then St. George's Terrace, as the terrace offers the width and will easily accommodate city traffic and pedestrians. Many business owners have also questioned the purpose of this plan, as it will destroy businesses as well as the heritage of the place.
For our perspective, it's bad for business, it's bad for the mall, I think it's bad for the City of Perth to have the light rail in the Hay Street Mall.
Shibs, WMN News.
Health Minister Kim Hames has announced that PMH will receive an annually extra funding of $3.7 million to improve intensive care, chronic pain, allergy and surgical services. The funding will allow the hospital to employ 24 more FTE staff.
That is a tremendous boost for this hospital, and I'm sure that the staff who are working here will be absolutely delighted to hear that we're making that extra commitment of $3.6 million, specifically targeting those areas of greatest need.
The Minister believes the funding boost can help PMH cope with the increasing demand on health services due to population growth. Meanwhile, the new $1.2 billion Children's Hospital project is set to be completed by 2015.
This week, Education Minister Peter Collier has announced job cuts in the education sector with 500 positions set to go. To discuss this issue, I've caught up with Ricky Hendon from the Community and Public Sector Union. Ricky Hendon, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Given the cuts, what's the union's concern over this issue?
Well, I think there's a number of concerns about this issue. Firstly, that in a state that's growing like ours, where we're seeing over 1,000 new people coming into the state a week, and the demand on our schools is actually increasing, not decreasing, I think it's very detrimental to be cutting staff from the Department of Education.
500 jobs are set to go. Is it a big number?
I think it is a big number, particularly given that this isn't the first lot of cuts that the department has experienced under the Barnett government. Under the previous term of government, there were also cuts, particularly to the central and regional education officers. And so what we're seeing now are further cuts on top of that. And I think it's all in that context of having that growing population that we have to service as well. So when you cut those jobs out and take together the growing population of Western Australia, I think it's going to have a huge impact.
But do you think that the cuts will have to be unavoidable anyway? It will have to happen?
I don't think that they're unavoidable. I think really it's all about the government's priorities. We're looking at cutting back in education, an area that is really an essential part of what the government delivers, yet we're building Elizabeth Quay. So it really goes to the government's priorities about what it spends its money on.
Do you believe the Education Minister has broken his promise? Last week he said there won't be any jobs going, but this week comes up quite a few jobs are saying bye-bye.
Well, I think you've said it perfectly, really. It's very, very evident that the Minister for Education has broken his promise. He said very explicitly on radio last Friday that there would be no jobs to go in his portfolio in this term of government, and less than 2 working days later he made an announcement that was completely the opposite of that. So it goes to show that this government really can't be trusted when it makes these announcements.
What should the government do instead of cutting jobs?
Instead of cutting jobs, what it really needs to do is look at its priorities, and I think those priorities need to be the West Australian people, and making sure that it delivers the quality public services that it needs to deliver to the West Australian people to ensure that we have a bright future.
Ricky Hendon, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
4 tennis superstars are set to appear in the Hyundai Hopman Cup. The event will be held in the Perth Arena in January next year. Martin Wilson has more.
The top-ranked Australian players Sam Stour and Bernard Tomic have confirmed they will be playing at the upcoming Hopman Cup. Poland will also be making their debut onto the Perth Arena as world number 4 Agnieszka Radwanska and Wimbledon semi-finalist Jerzy Janowicz make their debut at this event. Stour, whom holds 4 WTA singles titles, her most recent being from world number 2 Victoria Azarenka earlier this year, and 23 doubles titles, says she likes the setup of the Hyundai Hopman Cup.
Last year I know it was there, but from what I've heard it was a great atmosphere and, you know, big crowds, and kind of feels like you're playing on Rod Laver Arena already. So great preparation obviously, and no, I think it's just going to be overall a really great experience.
Tomic, the youngest player in the top 100 at only 20, will pair with Stour as he continues his unbeaten record at the Perth Arena.
It's great to have the number 1 male, the number 1 female, and it's the best. It's the best possible team to get hopefully the right outcome.
A lot of good teams over there, so definitely a couple of good matches is always great preparation before the Grand Slam. So yes.
First of all, a lot of fun, and second of all, good preparation.
Hyundai Hopman Cup event director Steve Ailes is delighted with the signing of the top players and says that no stone will be left unturned in getting the best players to Perth. Martin Wilson, WAMN News.
To world news, Hong Kong Chief Executive CY Leung has held his second public forum this month. Meanwhile, clashes between pro and anti-government groups have greatly subsided over the week due to increased police presence.
The forum this week was certainly a lot less violent than last week, as the local police beefed up their numbers to expect the unexpected. Journalists, pro and anti-government groups were clearly separated to prevent clashes. Some protested in silence, while others kept yelling as they always have done. More than 300 people lined up to obtain tickets for the forum in the morning. The chief executive CY Leung later attended the forum and believed the meeting with the public has been productive. Mr. Leung's popularity remained low so far, according to latest public opinion polls, which was carried out last week. Raphael Lim, WAMN News.
In Chile, the presidential election is on with the 9 candidates competing for the top job. The polls are projecting Michelle Bachelet as the winner. Chile correspondent Gustavo Donat and Brian Ramir Perez went to discover the public opinion.
And we are close to the presidential election in Chile, and we have 9 candidates registered for these elections, creating a record in presidential nominations. But people know the name of these 9 candidates?
Meo, Matei, ¿cómo se llama? Bachelet, este otro Parisi.
Sé que son varios, pero tenía preferencia por uno, pero lamentablemente no se postuló para presidente.
El Parisi, yo creo en el joven Parisi. Porque sabe, es experto, sabe.
La Michelle Bachelet, la única que los demás los ubico. Sí, la Matei también, pero no me gusta.
En cierta medida conozco a uno al cual me interesa más, Marco Enrico Minami, Romeo.
On the presidential side, the 2 major coalitions are both headed by women for the first time in Chilean history, with Nueva Mayoría's Michelle Bachelet of Socialist Party and Alianza's Evelyn Matei of the right-wing Independent Democratic Union. Also joining is Roxana Miranda from the Equality Party, setting a record of 3 women in the presidential race.
For WAM News, Gustavo Donat, Santiago, Chile.
And finally tonight, some good news for children in WA, with the state government allowing them to attend this year's Royal Show free of charge. Kids who are aged 12 or younger who attended the show with an adult are eligible for the benefit. The Agriculture and Food Minister Ken Bastian made the announcement on Saturday.
But the important thing is to get the kids, which are going to be the people of tomorrow, into the Royal Show, and to see that, to bridge that gap between the country and the city, and to have the exhibits, the animals, etc., so they understand what farming's about.
The main thing is it's the number of children, the extra children that come and can actually experience the show, but really experience where their food comes from.
It's understood that more than 200,000 children entered the Royal Show free of charge over the past 2 years. The RJ Perth Royal Show will be held from the 28th of September to the 5th of October this year. And that's how the world looks tonight. More news on our website.
We'll be back next week. Until then, good evening.
Good night.